Good evening, everybody. Hope you're all well. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. It's really is appreciated. So far, we've just noticed we've got over 60 people who've joined us and given up their time on a Wednesday night, and we're really, really grateful of this. Thank you very much. My name's Simon Platts. I'm the National Account Manager for Salamander Pumps, and I'm joined this evening by Charlotte Bell, who's our Marketing Manager, and also Ken Vance, who's our Training Manager. And the purpose of this evening is to a light-hearted event to run through and demonstrate our new products with you, the new Mains boosting range that we've launched recently, and go through the range. Also, the training session on it for everybody. So what I'll do now, I'll hand you over to Ken. I'm not going to waffle on for half an hour or anything like that. We're going to make this sort of nice and concise and straight into it. What I'd ask, though, for if anybody's got any questions, if you'd like to pop them in the chat section or in the questions section on the webinar, that would be great, and we'll try and answer them as soon as we can. Also, don't forget to complete the polls. That's also appreciated. And also, just finally, from me to introduce, there's some prizes throughout the presentation this evening. So I think you've got to be quick on the draws to sort of submit the answers, and there'll be some prizes to be won. Okay, so I'm going to hand over to Ken now, who's going to go through the range. Thank you very much on behalf of myself. Thank you.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks, Simon. Yeah, I mean, look, again, it's just to reiterate what Simon says. Listen, a massive thank you for everyone who's joined. You know, it's your night, it's your evening, and you've given it up, or certainly given part of it up for us. You know, so big, you know, the turnout's fantastic, mate. It really is. So yeah, what we'll do, we'll run through. I don't want to go too much in depth, but we'll certainly try and give you a good appreciation of what's going on. Give you a little bit of a background onto our full Mains boosting range. And as I said, Simon said, there's a couple of prizes that I'll stick in there as well. So there's two little questions. You have 30 seconds to answer each question. First person in the chat to give us the right answer will, I think it's a 50 quid voucher. So. Right, get started. So when we're looking at Mains water systems, predominantly what we're looking at is the combi boilers, unvented hot water systems, some water heaters, and some electric showers. That's mainly what we're looking at when we're talking about Mains water systems, or what we can certainly provide a solution for. So when we first look at what the water company should be or trying to provide for us, so we know as plumbers, we've got the water mains, you've then got your communication pipe, which takes you up to usually an external stop tap, potentially a water meter. And at that point is where the water supply's responsibility stops. So if you've got a terraced house right on the edge of the road, hopefully, happy days. As soon as you've got any sort of run up into that house, then you're going to start, no matter how small the run is, you will start to suffer some pressure loss, some flow loss, and all the rest of it. But at that point, the water supply has got to give you a minimum of 9 litres a minute and 0.7 of a bar pressure. Now, that's all fine and well for a really small combi, but you know, it's not necessarily enough for small to medium combis, not enough certainly for an unvented cylinder. So it's a funny one really, and they've got to give that to you over a 24-hour period. So it's not a constant. So what you might find is in the morning you're getting 6 litres a minute, you know, and you're getting half a bar pressure. Well, on a night time, you know, that might be all right, but in the mornings it might not be. So what you might find is overnight you've got quite high performance. But because over that 24-hour period, it's averaged 9 litres a minute and 0.7 of the bar, then the water board's met their obligation. So that's where we try now to step in and provide a solution where we can't provide a solution for everything. We're not coming out and saying, yeah, we'll give you a solution for every single thing, but the majority of low flow, low pressure installations we can help with now. So we've got 3 very distinct products that we're now sort of offering as that solution. So the first Combi Boost, which is your grey one, that will give you a rise up to about 10 litres a minute, Home Boost up to about 12 litres a minute. So I'll come on to why those figures in a second. And then we've got the AccuBoost, which is our range of accumulators, and that'll take you up to about 36 litres. So we'll look at the Home Boost and Combi Boost first. Now, one of the questions that I often get answered is, why have you brought out an illegal product? Well, we haven't. And it was, what, 5, 6 years ago we brought HomeBoost out. There's still a bit of a misconception that you're not allowed to put a pump directly on the mains. Now, you can put a pump on the mains so long as you're not pumping more than 12 litres a minute. Okay? And that's where HomeBoost and CombiBoost are quite clever. So, CombiBoost, we said earlier, will give you up to 10 litres a minute. The way I like to think of it is CombiBoost is the HomeBoost's sort of smaller brother. Okay? We've taken off any lighting features off the front of it. We've given it down to about 10 litres a minute. That's the idea of that. It's a low-cost solution to stick in and help that small combi. I tend to say up to about 24, 25 kilowatt boilers. Then you've got HomeBoost, which we added a little bit of lighting feature on there so we can see what the pump's doing and some feedback lighting on there. And what that'll do is that'll bring it up to 12 litres a minute. 12 litres a minute, the most you can legally draw from the mains directly without having to notify the water authority. So what will happen, and I'll show you a little video of how it works in a second, there's a little turbine in the outlet. As the water runs through the pump, all that happens is that turbine spins and tells the pump how hard it needs to work. So if you've got between 3 litres a minute and either 10 or 12, depending on the model, what the pump will do is it'll ramp up and it'll try to provide 12 litres a minute. Okay? We know that depending on the time of the day, depending on the street, we know pressures can change and flows can change. What you might find is in the mornings, everyone's getting ready for work. And what is ordinarily an okay flow drops down to sort of 6, 7, 8 litres a minute in the property. But then you might find that mid-mornings, mid-afternoons, it kind of peaks a little bit. Evenings, it drops quite low again. If we look at that, this is mock-up. It's not real figures, but it puts the point across. So what you might find is sort of 6, 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, because everybody in that street is using that mains. What you might find is that mains pressure and that mains flow is quite low. Then it'll spike and it'll go up maybe to 14 litres a minute when the demand isn't as great. And it might drop a little bit again at lunchtime, might rise again, level up. What happens overnight, you get pretty good flow, pretty good pressure. And it's worth remembering that point for later on when we come to look at the accumulators. So the whole point of HomeBoost and CombiBoost is it's to try and level off what's going on. So what you'll find is it'll level off at 12, maintain 12, but the clever bit about CombiBoost and HomeBoost is if your mains water naturally goes higher than 12, all it'll do is it'll throttle back and it'll go into standby, but it'll not impede the flow of water. It'll allow it to come naturally. So you'll see it'll sit at 12, then it'll peak. The pump will go into standby. It'll not assist the flow, but it'll also not impede your flow. Then again, it'll start to drop, but rather than dropping all the way down, what it'll do is it'll level it back off at 12, and the pump will kick back in again. Then it'll rise, and the whole point is just to give you this level playing field. We had a fairly large installer down in London, and I met him, but I think it was Chelsea, the Fex Chelsea, and I didn't obviously want to do with sales or anything like that, but he was fitting the HomeBoost with every single boiler. He was fitting every combi. And it was interesting for me. I said, look, why are you fitting one? He said, look, I fit them like MagnaCleans. I put one in with every single boiler. I'm like, well, why do you do it? Basically what was happening is he's taking out a gravity system in a densely populated area. Now, that densely populated area in London had a gravity system which is constant but poor performance. It's not brilliant pressure, but it was constant. He takes that out and he's putting a combi in which is direct off the mains. All that happens is basically the mornings he was getting calls. Pressure's not very good now, the boiler's not working. He was getting these sort of calls. And it was because the customer was seeing a drop in pressure. Big demand time on the mains. He's having to go out and explain this. What he does is he sticks a HomeBoost in that levels off at 12 and says his callbacks have come down drastically. You know, I'm not saying that's a solution for everybody, but it was nice to hear that these are going in at standard with some boiler installations. But rather than me bleating on, I'll give you a quick video on how it works. This is a customer, they've got fairly poor performance. They're getting around 3 litres a minute at the kitchen sink. So principle is, come in. I know every installation is not as neat as this, and there's not 27 bottles domestic. Comes with a fitness kit, optional extra. If you want to buy that, you can do. It's very, very useful. 15mm and 22mm fittings on them. Filter washer, flat washer, and they're also flat face connectors. The idea is those connectors can slide back, get your pump in, tighten it up. And it's a nice, easy fit. Okay, turn the water back on. 3-pin plug attached. There's not much wiring to do, if any. Steady green light comes on. Okay. Water runs through the pump. What we've got is a little turbine. Okay. That little turbine tells the pump just how hard it's working. Okay, so what we're seeing now, water starts to run past it, starting to get a slow clockwise to show the pump's working. Speeds up, brings it up to 12 litres a minute. Okay, we're getting 9 litres a minute now, so the pump doesn't have to work quite as hard. So that's picked up on that, and you get a slightly slower feedback. Now we see we're getting 12 litres a minute, over 12 litres a minute. The pump realises that, throttles back, goes in standby. Okay, so it's not assisting the flow because it doesn't need to. It makes it quite efficient as well. Okay, this is just to sort of reiterate the fact that it is predominantly designed for combi boiler installations. It's just to show you that it is there to push the water through the heat exchanger that little bit quicker through that flat bed heat exchanger. We know it's quite restrictive, so what you'll see is the pump will work quite hard, but still bring that flow back up to 12 litres a minute for the hot water. And just so Charlotte knows, Charlotte, I think there's a couple of questions just starting to pop through on the chat. We've got someone on the chat, and I think we've got a couple of questions there as well. Right. So again, mentioned it earlier, we can fit them online. There's 2 ways you can put them in. Either put it on the stop tap, just after you stop tap and get the value for the whole house, or you can put it just on the inlet to the combi. Now, for me, I tend to suggest you try and get them on the whole house. You might as well get the benefit for everything. Plus, if you put it just on the combi, it is only going to help the hot water. Right? So it'll push your cold in, it'll give you better performance on the hot water. It won't then assist the cold. But it is an option if that fits that particular installation. But for me, I'd be looking at trying to get this on the whole house if possible. The fitness kit we've got as an optional extra. It comes as 15mm and 22mm. We did a little bit of feedback. I think it was one of the questions is why do we not just give the fitness kit in the box? A lot of plumbers prefer to just put a female iron on there and connect it in. So that's one of the main reasons that it's not in there. A lot of the time it wasn't being used. Plumbers like to use their own bits and pieces and put their own fittings on there. So that's just the answer to that little question. Right. Fitting wise, we've had the question asked a load of times, does it have to be upright? Ideally, yes. It's the best performance is when it's straight up and down vertical, but you can lay them on the sides. The only thing we suggest is that they don't go any further than sort of 90 degrees. As soon as that happens, there's a little vent in the bottom. What we don't want is any debris getting in there, any moisture, any condensation from pipework, anything like that. To make sure it's nice and level, either ideally up and down, but if not, you can lay them on the sides. Now, what then happens if we decide that we want more than 12 litres a minute? Okay, which is obviously your legal maximum. If we then look and decide that we want more than 12 litres a minute, that's where AccuBoost comes in, which is a range of accumulators. So we've got at the minute 9 variants of accumulator. We've got the pump version, we've got the unpumped versions. We don't do an unpumped 60-litre version for the simple reason there's not really enough water in there to be beneficial. And what we mean by that, it's always worth noting when you see an accumulator, okay, and it's the size, for example, 180 litres. Now, it doesn't hold 180 litres of water, it's around 50-50. Okay, so what you'll actually get in there is 50 to 70, about 90 litres of water, roughly. And the reason is there's a bag of air in there which helps the accumulator to work as it should do. So what we tend to see is, for example, at 60, you'll have about 30 litres of water in there, 120, you'll have about 60. So if you work out how much water that customer needs, remember these sizes quoted are the sizes for the overall unit, not for the amount of water that's in them. That's because that's the size of the unit. Okay, so it is worth just remembering that. So essentially the way I like to describe them, it's a rechargeable battery for water. So if you've got poor performance, poor flow, put one of these on, it'll charge up and then deliver the flow when it's needed. Then what will happen is once you've used up all that extra water in there, it recharges again. The idea being is it's essentially it's a rechargeable battery for your water flow within your property or within your customers' properties. So I'm going to look a little bit more in depth. So first thing we'll notice is we've designed ours with a lightweight composite shell. The reason that we've done that is for exactly that reason. It's a lot lighter weight. You know, traditionally these tend to be steel vessels a lot of the time. You know, yes, some of our competitors do have composite, but we've solely concentrated on the composite vessels. And one, it helps the merchants a little bit as well because we can get some of them down as one-man lifts. It brings the weight down. But it's also a lot better for likes of yourselves. You know, looking up a 450-litre steel vessel in the loft's no joke. You know, we're not saying ours is light, but certainly lighter than a steel vessel. Try to keep them all lighter than steel. The other benefits of it being a composite, one is less chance of any corrosion. You know, so there's the composite material is not going to rust. The other issues that you can sort of resolve, steel vessels, in a warm environment, you tend to find a lot of condensation on them. You can potentially get condensation on them. The composite versions, they're less prone to condensation, which is another one of the reasons that we've opted for that. So they all come with a base. You know, we put our own base on all of them, with the exception of the 450. Base, if you were to buy an unpumped, then that base, it's the same base that goes on to a pumped version. So what that means is if you take out or you buy one, you then realize that you need to put a pump on it. The mounting point is there for the pump, so you can add a pump rep. So it's a nice little option now. That is just in case you ever do need to go pump rather than unpumped. If something changes, you can go backwards and then you can stick a pump on. Again, I'll show you the differences in a second. Little Schrader valve on the top, that's designed to put your pre-charged pressure into that bag that's inside here. Internal bladder, now we've opted for what we call a water on bag design. So essentially the way this works, you've got water goes into the vessel at this point, either through the pump or off the mains direct. It then fills up that vessel and compresses that bag of air that's in there. When it does that, a non-return valve just after you stop that locks that pressure into the system. You squeeze pressure in, forget how we do that for now, I'll come on to that. Squeeze pressure in, that pressure gets locked in that accumulator. Then you've got a non-return valve, so any pressure that comes in can't get back again. That's why I say it's a bit like a rechargeable battery. So it fills it up, stores that water pressure, and you've got that bag which is then being compressed. What can then happen is you go and open an outlet, that bag is acting like a coiled spring, if you like, trying to push that water back out again. So you'll then start to force your water back out of your outlets. And that's what gives you that lift on your flow. Now, depending on which model you go for, they have different lifts, if you like. So smaller ones will offer you an extra 2 litres a minute on top of what you've got. Pump version, it works slightly differently, but again, hang fire with that, I'll come on to it. Then the larger units, you can get up to sort of 36 litres a minute coming out of these. One point to note is that we've designed them all to last at full flow for a maximum of around 9 minutes. Now, currently, the average shower time in the UK is 9 minutes. Unfortunately, not for me, because it doesn't take me long to wash my hair. But if the missus was in the shower, for example, then she might be in 20 minutes. But on average, in the UK, it's around 9 minutes for an average shower. So that's why we've plonked for 9. Obviously, if you don't use the maximum flow they can give, they'll last a bit longer. If you want, we also do a flow restrictor kit, which is a kit with various different flow restrictors. That's a nice, simple job. In that little connection at the bottom of the vessel, you can take that out. You can change how much water comes in. So what you could do is you could have a shorter runtime with more water, or you could have a longer runtime with less water. But again, the options are there for them, and again, it's a little optional extra. Okay, so what's the process for these to work? So essentially, mains water fills up that vessel, and it either fills it through a pump or naturally the mains. Now, I got asked a question the other week: are these only for low flow situations? They're not, and I might be talking about you guys. You probably know it already, but they're actually designed as well to provide extra flow where the customer wants more water. You know, we had a big property the other week, and I think they had around 30 odd litres coming in naturally. That was 30 odd litres a minute, but they needed around 60. Now, it's again 30 litres a minute. I think it was about 4 bar they had. Isn't bad, but they had multiple drenched shower heads. They had multiple bathrooms. All they wanted to do was increase the amount of water that they were able to use. Yes, it's a solution for low flow situations, but it's also a solution where customer just requires more water. Okay, so mains water fills up. That high pressure, wherever it's generated, whether it's a pump or naturally off the mains, that squashes that pipe down. It gets locked in the system with a non-return valve, and it holds pressure in the system. Okay, if it's a pump version, the pump will charge up the vessel for you to around 3 to 3.5 bar, thereabouts. Okay, so you'll charge it up off the pump. Pump runs, pressurizes up your accumulator, then it'll go off and it'll be stored ready for whenever you open an outlet. If it's an unpumped, and I'll show you the reasons why we would choose pumped over unpumped in a second, but if you went for unpumped, what would happen is the vessel would constantly fill, only reach its maximum whenever your natural peak your natural peak performance was with your mains. Okay, tend to find that. I tend to remember that graph from earlier. What you'll find is overnight, you tend to find your pressure and your flows at the highest. What will happen is overnight, that vessel will top off to its peak performance. It'll then lock and store last night's pressure in your system. Next day, you've got plenty of water to use. Okay. Then once you've used it, if it's an unpumped version, it will return back to what your current sort of flow and performance is. Then what you're going to find is if it's a pump version, what the pump will do is the pump will charge it back up for you. Once you've used up that extra volume in the vessel, you've used up all that water that's been stored, your pump will then step in and maintain 12. That's one of the benefits of using the pump version over the unpumped, that once you've used up that extra water, your pump then maintains 12 litres a minute rather than reverting back to what your current flow and pressure is. That's one of the biggest differences. Okay, so then what will happen is it'll refill it again, vessel charge is ready for next use, and then the cycle just starts again. And it's nice to see how it works. I'll show you a little animation. Okay, so that's our little 60-litre version. We then got the 120, the 180, the 300, and the 450. Again, available as pumped. These are all available as pumped or unpumped. And as I say, they all come on their own base, with the exception of the 450. The reason for that, simply the vessel's too big and the pump doesn't sit nice under it. So it comes out as 2 boxes. It also makes it a little bit easier to handle. So got our own base on there, pump versions, unpumped versions, and to give you an idea of size. What's that there? So the little 60, that'll fit into a standard sort of 500 or 600 mil base unit. Then when we go into the next sizes, so that's your 120 and your 180, that'll fit into a 500 larder unit. That one will fit into a 600 larder unit. 300 will actually fit into a unit, but I haven't shown it for the simple reason you need to take the base out and take the back out of the unit. It will go into the overall housing. Yes, we appreciate that a lot of people won't necessarily want to have this in the kitchen. What we have suggested is, I'll come on to the installation in a minute, but basically we will allow the pump and the vessel to be separated. A certain way we can do that, but again, I'll come on to that in about 10 minutes or 5 minutes. Okay, so we're at night. Again, they're getting about 3 litres a minute. Not great. Okay, so I was saying, yep, MainsBooster potentially a good solution for this. All right, not a restricted main by any way. It's just a low flow area. Come in, we'll knock off the mains. Okay, the minute your pipe work comes up, goes up to your kitchen sink, drops down and feeds the rest of the house. Potentially a combi in this instance. All right, so we wouldn't need to go in the sink, the cupboard next to the sink, just because it'll not fit with all this. Plus, you want access to your trap, all the rest of it. Come in, we'll reroute the pipework. First thing we notice, we've got a double check valve. That should be, top of my head, should be a type EC verifiable double check valve, which is the official standing, as you like, in the water regs. Okay, so now we've done, we've come in, top, non-return valve, we're then taking the pipework around. First thing you'll notice, pressure reducing valve. We ask that everybody sets the pressure reducing valve before the accumulator, whether it's pumped or unpumped. They are rated up to 8.6 bar, but we tend to suggest set them around 4.5. It's usually adequate for what we need. If it's a pump version, you probably won't have that anyway, so it's a nice safety feature. If it's unpumped, you might have that kind of pressure going into it. Everything comes pre-built in the box. Take it out, stick your two hoses on, put it in, connect it up. Easy as that, okay? And it really is as easy as that. So the only one that's slightly different is that 450. You just need to connect the pump on. Apart from that, that's it. So we're not going to water back on. Get some electric in, get the water back into the unit. Okay, so a couple of things are going to happen now. First thing that's going to happen is when it starts to play, your non-return valve will open up. Okay, so your non-return will open, your pump will activate, start pushing some water into that vessel, and what it will do is it'll start to collapse down. I did say it was about 50-50. The animation doesn't show that. It's been exaggerated for the animation, but there's a non-return valve now open. Water comes in, collapses that bladder down. Non-return valve snaps shut. That pressure is now locked into the system. Okay. Now, if that was an unpumped version, the same thing would happen, but it would just come naturally off the mains and it wouldn't go through the pump version. Right. Once you then open an outlet, that non-return valve will snap open and you'll start to get good performance. That bladder is then pushing the water out. Because it's pumped, once you run out of water in here, notice the top, it'll drop down a little bit, but not back to what it was. That's because that pump's constantly giving that 12 litres a minute. And it'll continue to do that until you then shut off the tap. Okay, once you've turned the tap off, what's going to happen? You run back around that cycle again. Yeah, non-return valve opens, water comes in, repressurizes the vessel, and that's it ready then for next use. Now, if that was an unpump, it would start to fill, but you'd probably find that overnight when it would really fill up to its maximum. All right. Now, where are we? Right. First little question of the night, and it's just a bit of a daft one. Maybe 30 seconds to answer it. I think Charles going to keep an eye on it, but we're going to ask the question: where is the most expensive toilet ever? Now, I'm hoping that they tend to get an answer on this, but I want to start the timer. Bit of an interesting one. And the only clue I'll kind of give you on it is that they really are out of this world, these toilets. They really are. There you go, Charlotte. I think we have a winner. 10 seconds. Not bad to go on Google and find out. So well done. I think we'll announce that at the end, I think. So excellent. Right. So now, when we come to look, why does everyone say Dubai? My house, Alan Harborn says it's in his own house. He's got the most expensive toilet in the world. Anyhow, I'll shut the chat down to go and concentrate. Right. So specification wise, we But we've done a lot of chat with merchants, a lot of chat with plumbers, and there's tends to be a little bit of a, not I want to say people are scared to spec them up, but there's a little bit of discontent specking these up. So I've put on, look, it's not a dark art. It's not that difficult to specify an accumulator. And what we're trying to do is demystify it. We're really trying to make it as easy as we possibly can. So what I'd like to try and do is I'll work through a couple of reasons on what we're going to do to try and specify this. So the first thing you want to do is decide if we're going to go for pumped or unpumped. That's fairly easy. Then what we're going to do is we're going to work out the total flow, okay, that's required by determining what appliances will be run simultaneously. We're not going to ask you guys to figure that out yourselves. We've taken the general overview, some of the standards, some of the loading units, all the rest of it, and we've come up with a bit of an idea as to what we think each appliance is going to use. Very much that, but it does give a general feel of how much water appliances are using. We've given them for you. So what you need to do is ask the customer realistically, what are they going to run together? Now, again, I say the word ask them realistically, okay, because you get the customers, oh, well, I want 6 showers, 3 baths, 2 basins, washing machine, dishwasher. Hang on, you're going to need 5 450 litre units for that. But the realistic view of what they're going to use. So, are they going to use a bath and a top together, a shower, and maybe the kitchen tap running? It's a general but real life view of what they actually think they're going to use at any one time. Then what we'll do, very, very simply, is we're just going to refer to a product selection chart. That will help you specify it. Slightly different for an unpump, but again, I'll come on to it. So, nice and easy to specify. Firstly, you're going to ask yourself 3 questions. 1, is the natural flow less than 12 litres per minute? Okay. 2, is the standing pressure less than 2 bar, or does the customer want more? And is the highest outlet on the 2nd floor or above? Okay. 3 questions. If you can answer yes to any of those 3 questions, we're going to go for a pump version, right? And that's because less than 12 litres a minute, we can add a pump to that. We don't break water rates, and we'll bring that up to 12 litres a minute to fill the vessel a bit quicker. If it's less than 2 bar, again, I'm going to look at the install side, which is actually pretty simple. We'll look at the installation side in a second. What you'll realise is we need to set the pre-charge pressure in the bag, in the vessel, the bladder. We need to set that at 1.5 bars less than what's coming in. So when you start getting less than 2 bar, it almost becomes kind of pointless having it. So anything where you've got less than 2 bar, we're going to add a pump, and that pump will then bring you up to about 3 to 3.5 bar. Highest outlet, 2nd floor or above. If it is, you need to be able to get that pressure up to that floor. Okay. Now, we don't want to suffer too much pressure loss. So what we're saying is, look, stick a pump on that. Okay. That's going to give that lift that you need to get your appliances on that 2nd floor working as they should. Okay. If you can go unpumped, so you've answered no to all of those. You don't have to answer yes to all of them, but any of them, we're going to go for pumped. If you're going to go for unpumped, it's a nice, easy way to work out which vessel that we need. So, work out the customer's demand. Dead easy. Ask them a question. What are you using at any one time? That'll give you a demand. Check the natural flow. Now, one of the things with checking the natural flow, we've seen this over the last few months, is we've had some installers, some plumbers who will go and check a tap. Or they'll go and check an outside tap. And they'll get a flow rate. Now, what they might realise is that tap's actually quite restrictive. So the way I would suggest checking your flow rates is to open up multiple taps, okay, and keep opening them. Measure it, open it, measure it. Next one, open it, measure it. Add those together until it plateaus. Okay, so you might find your first tap you'll get 7 litres a minute. The next one you might get another 7. So you've actually got 14 litres a minute coming into loads. Keep doing it until that doesn't rise anymore. That'll give you roughly what your flow rate is coming into that property. So that's a nicer way of working it out for us. Once you've got your demand, once you've got your natural flow, take that one away from that one. That gives you a shortfall. Look to the product selection chart, see which vessel that you need, and just give that shortfall back to the customer for what they need. All right, it's as easy as that. Okay, now we'll work through a little example. The next question, the next quiz, is to work out one of these. Okay, it's a nice, easy one, but we'll go through it. So this one, 1st floor, highest outlet. So at the minute we're thinking unpumped. Then we checked your incoming pressure. We're getting 1.5 bar. Okay, 1.5 bar. We're going to go for a pump now. The reason being, set your pre-charge less than 1.5 bar below what's coming in. You'll have your pre-charge set at 0, so it's absolutely pointless to have an accumulator. So what we're going to say is, right, you now need to go for a pump version. Okay, we get 9 litres a minute. So again, we're going to go for a pump version because less than 12. Now we've worked out that we need pumped. Okay. So what do they want to run at any one time? They want a standard shower, kitchen tap, and probably an electric shower. Standard shower, 12 litres a minute. Kitchen tap, 8 litres a minute-ish. And then what we've got, electric shower, 9 litres a minute. So we're looking for around 29 litres a minute that we need. Now, we don't have to work out any shortfalls because this is a pump version. Okay. Very, very simply, all we're going to do is refer to this on a product selection. We know we need pumped. We know we need 29 litres a minute. There's your flow rates that you need. We've got 28, we've got 30. And again, I think you guys got these in the little goodie bags. If not, we can email them out to you. I think it's on the website as well. I'll confirm that later. But we've got 28 litres a minute, 30 litres a minute, so we want 29. So we're right down the middle of that one. There we go. Attribute 300. We'll give them 30 litres a minute for 9 minutes. It'll give them 28 litres a minute for 10. So you've got about 9.5 minutes runtime at full flow. Now, it won't necessarily always be full flow, so it'll last a bit longer. Or if they want even longer, you can get 12 to 14 minutes if you went for an Attribute 450. So, I say it really isn't that difficult to specify, but since we've gone for pumped, I'll show you how the pump version works. Yeah. Press play. Right, so this little bit's what we call the H bridge. That sits on top of the pump. So that goes onto the pump inlet, that goes onto the pump outlet. So that means obviously your inlet and outlet. That's your vessel connection, so it fills the vessel and empties from the vessel. And we've put a little inline strainer in here as well. Okay. Again, whip that out. Strainer, happy days. I'm going to pause it just to go through it a little bit more. So water comes in, goes through the strainer, comes out into your pump. Pump then kicks water out. We've put in, there's a 12 litres a minute flow restrictor in here. That instantly satisfies water regulations. So we're not pumping more than 12 litres per minute. Okay. If your mains was naturally to go over 12 litres a minute, little non-return valve here. So what will happen is you're getting 12 through here, but if it was to rise for some reason to say 14, it'll cross through that bypass, through the non-return valve, and go to your outlet. So you get a little bit better performance. That's the connection that filled up the vessel or empties the vessel, and I'll show you how it works in a second. Okay. Right. At the end of that, that's your vessel filling. Okay. Water comes in, gets whipped around by the impeller, pushes water out, and fills your vessel up at around 12 litres a minute. Then we'll turn a tap on. What happens is your pump activates, your pump gives you 12 litres a minute, plus you get your drawdown from the accumulator. And I said earlier that these vary. So what you'll get for a 60 litre, you'll get an extra 2 litres a minute coming off that, so you'll get 14 litres per minute. Next size up, so 120, so we'll get, we've got 14, 16 litres a minute, so that gives you an extra 4 litres a minute. It works its way up till you get up around 36. Okay, so it's basically you've got water comes in, goes up to your tap, 12 litres plus whatever you've got from that accumulator. Okay, so the vessel is now empty. All right, what we're doing now, that pump just giving you 12 litres a minute straight to your outlet. Not filling the vessel, but there's nothing else coming in because you've used up all that. Now what we've got is over 12 litres a minute. So what we're saying now is your water comes in and you're giving 12 litres a minute to your taps, but you draw down from the accumulator plus whatever else extra is coming through there. So you might get an extra couple of litres a minute coming through off the mains. Right. This point here connects onto your vessel. That's where the flow restrictor is. All right. What we've got in there, we've got 2 non-return valves and the flow restrictor. The idea is the non-return valves open up towards the vessel. you're going to do is you're going to fill your vessel up through the two non-returns and through your flow restrictor backwards. And what's going to happen is you're going to fill that up as quick as you can. When the water starts to come back to your outlet, two non-return valves snap shut and it lets water go through the flow restrictor. Okay, and that's how we manage the amount of water that can come through from that vessel. Again, if you did want to, there is a flow restrictor kit. We can tweak that and change it to suit. Okay, it comes with a hose. All right. What you'll also notice is these special mounting brackets. These mounting brackets will allow the pump to move slightly still on the rubber feet to dampen the noise. It doesn't restrict it down. One of the points you might notice is that those nuts and bolts underneath can tighten on. Now, we listened to some of the plumbers that were saying, and to be fair, yeah, it was right. A bit awkward sometimes, especially if you've got a bigger unit to try and push this back, get your fingers underneath to get those bolts in. I know if you did want to add a pump. So what we've done now is it fixes straight through the top, straight down. You won't have to get underneath the unit anymore, just in case anyone is wondering. Okay, vessel connection goes on. Again, this all comes pre-built from the factory, but you can work on it if you need to. Straight into a 500mm unit, and just so you know, again, little easy access strainer in there. If you ever did need to take that out, give it a clean, stick it back in. All right. We've done that. Now, another little shot just to win a 50 quid Amazon voucher. Okay. I'm going to give you 30 seconds just for a little spec. I'll put the chat on just to make sure everything's going as it should. Right. Right. This one here, we've got highest outlets on the second floor. Okay. Incoming natural pressure, 1 bar. Natural flow rate is 9 litres a minute. They want to run a standard shower, an electric shower, and a large shower. There's your flow rates to add them up. Have a go at speccing that up. You can see how easy it is. First person to drop that in the chat, they'll get a 50 quid voucher. All right.
It's worth noting we also need to know whether it's pumped or unpumped, guys.
If you hadn't told them that, you know, we could have saved a few quid there. Well, I think we already have the winner. Time's up, so we'll stop that one there and we'll move on. All right. See the amount of good responses coming in, man. I'm quite pleased with that. Right, installation-wise, last 2 slides. These we will fly through because it is extremely easy to fit them. So unpumped, essentially, you can tee them in wherever you want. Okay. So the only things to watch out for: make sure it's off the double check valve, because that's what locks the pressure into the system. So if you've got an outlet before that, it isn't going to be served. Shouldn't be before anyway, but we know it can happen sometimes. Full bore isolation valve. All right, but you can more or less put it in anywhere you want. You can even put it after outlets because it's still after that non-return valve. So you can more or less put this where you want. Okay. Again, mentioned earlier, the pre-charge pressure in the bag, you need to set that 1.5 or less than what's coming in naturally. So that's your differential. Now, the reason we're saying 1.5, if you were to put too much pressure in the bag, what you find out is you'll get not as much water coming into the vessel, but it'll be held at a higher pressure. So you get like the best 30 seconds of your life in the shower. If you then put it too low, what you'll do is you'll flood that vessel far too much, but you won't have very much push back out again. So your output's not going to be as good. Sweet spot for it is 1.5 bars less than your static pressure coming in. All right. So apart from that, that's it for an unpumped. And again, as I might have mentioned, full bore isolation valve, just so you can isolate if you need to. Right. Pumped versions, I'll be very careful how I say this, but the pump needs to be within 5 meters of measured pipe work from the top. So the reason it's 5 meters is you get frictional loss in the pipe. What we don't want to do is stick the pump too far away and you don't get enough water coming back in that the pump can get out again. Okay. So we've pumped for 5 meters. 5 meters is the maximum distance. Ideally, all in 22 mil, but we will allow up to about 2 meters of 15 mil on the installation on that. And again, it's a general rule of thumb. Okay. Now, what I said was the pump needs to be within 5 meters of the stop. we will allow the pump to be taken off and put within 5 meters. Then the vessel can be sighted very much like an unpumped. All right. The only thing you'd have to do is that point where that hose connects onto that H bridge as we talked about. Disconnect that. That then goes onto your pipe work somewhere in your system, and you wouldn't need to blank off the connection on that H bridge. But apart from that, yes, you can locate the pump within 5 meters of stop tap and stick your vessel in the garage in the loft somewhere logical. Because we know a lot of people don't want to give up a full kitchen unit to put a 450 litre unit in there. Okay. And again, pre-charge pressure for the pump versions preset, so you shouldn't really ever have to do anything with that. Again, you might want to check that every so often. Okay, but again, if you ever come back with to do a service on cylinder, service on the boiler, at that point, drain it down, check your pressures if you did want to do that. Okay, and I believe that's it from me. I'm hoping that a lot of these questions have been answered. Can you help with that? Because there's quite a few.
I can. I think most of them. Andrew is also on here today, and he is our AccuBoost engineer. So he designed AccuBoost. So he's helping out with all the questions that are coming through. I think he's pretty much gotten to all of them, to be honest, Ken.
Yeah, I was going to say it looks like everything's answered.
Yeah, there's just one on there that's on the accumulator. When fitted, does the pump need adequate airflow to cool the motor?
Yeah, so we usually say that you would need to make sure there's 100 mil of free airspace around them. Again, it's 100 mil of free airspace in an ideal world. We know kitchen cupboards can be a bit smaller, but yeah, just in a kitchen cupboard, it's fine. Anything other than that, it's going to be bigger than that anyway. So yeah, as long as there's adequate airflow around it, it's fine. The vents are on the bottom and it's a fixed level. So it's what we're saying is basically don't shove loads of stuff on them. Okay, it's not like a shower pump and an airing cupboard. You go to them and you see towels on them, pillows on them, all the rest of it. So just make sure that they're open, okay, without anything on top. That's probably the best way to answer that.
And then we've just had a couple more come in there, Ken. What guarantee with these units?
I believe it's 3 years on these.
3 years on AccuBoost.
It is,
3
isn't it?
years
Yeah.
on Home Boost and 1 year on Combi Boost.
1 year on Combi Boost. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So that's all that sort of specification, information, technical information, guarantees, all that kind of information is in your training guides. And if you didn't get a training guide today, we can follow up with a training guide PDF, or there's one on the Salamander website, which I've popped in the chat. How do you take care of air in the system is another one, Ken.
I'm interested in knowing what way air in the system. So the accumulator itself shouldn't really fill with air. The reason being the bag fills the full inside of the vessel when it's empty. So as water comes in, and it naturally goes around the bag and starts to compress it. So there shouldn't really be an air problem with that. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah.
Again, if not, stick another question in, and I'll do my best to answer it.
Yep, we've got. Is it best to install AccuBoost before or after a water softener?
It's one of these funny ones. Now, for me personally, I would prefer it after the water softener. For the simple reason, you get the benefit of the water softener for the accumulator. Now, I would suggest on that one that you speak to the water softener manufacturer. They may say, no, you can't pump out of it. Or they might say, look, you need X amount of flow and pressure through it, in which case you might have to put the pump before it. But it's probably best answered by the water softener manufacturer. You need G3 unvented to fit this. No, you don't, because it doesn't have to go on an unvented system. You would obviously need it for an unvented, but fit an accumulator, no, you don't need G3. Or after the water softener.
Sorry, Ken. Is the vessel like a potable expansion vessel? Port?
Yeah, all the materials are RAS approved. The unit is, the vessel is RAS approved, the pump is RAS approved. Yes.
Let's see, is there any more questions coming in? Is the bladder removable?
The short answer to that is yes. The long answer is no, we aren't. We're not offering replaceable bladders as a spare at the moment. One, they're all still in warranty. Okay, so that's your main one. But they can be a little bit awkward to get them out. You know, we've done a couple in the factory to try it. But at the minute, we're not going to offer that as a spare. We may have plans when they start coming out of warranty. That might be an option. But at the minute, it's not on the table. So that's answerable.
Yeah.
But you got to think as well, if you were to go for a diaphragm type design, you know, a lot of our competitors use diaphragm type designs. They aren't replaceable either. You know, so watch the space. We might not.
If dynamo is damaged, what can we do?
I'm honestly not sure what that means. I'm presuming if it means the pump becomes damaged, well, again, if it's in warranty, give us a bell. You know, we'll go through that and we'll work out the best way to help. If it's out of warranty, then the flow sensor. Okay, yeah. So I'm presuming that's referring to the home boost for this one or the AccuBoost. I'm not sure, but again, if the flow sensor becomes damaged, I don't see why it would. You know, it's not something that tends to break. But give us a bell if it's in warranty. If it's not, then it might need to be replaced. And it'll be a replaced unit rather than just a flow sensor.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it, Ken. So the next 10 minutes, we've only got 10 more minutes left, or 8 more minutes left. And I'm planning on taking you through all of the ways that we are supporting our installers with the MainsBooster range.
Right, in that case,
So on our website, we've got a range of things that can support installers, from specification to installation. There's a selection of things that can help you guys with choosing the right product. So we have the product selector on there. So on the Salamander site, you can go through all of the steps on there, which will tell you exactly which products are suitable for your system. And there's a number of questions that will take you through, and you'll get the right products for your system. At the end of there, you get the results, which allow you to download a summary PDF of the specification that we've given you, and the system details that you've inputted into the product selector. You also have the option to find a local stockist and get a quote, so you can send that to your local merchant, whoever they may be, and they'll be able to provide you with a quote to buy. We also have a range of online retailers who now have the AccuBoost accumulators and the other MainsBooster products available from there. We also have a find and installer map. So by carrying out this training today, you will actually be able to be awarded your AccuBoost badge, which will mean that when you're added to the installer map, which shows all of our installers across the UK who've carried out our training in some form. So when householders are looking for a home boost or an AccuBoost to be installed, they find this list of installers, which will have your badge against your name when you're registered. So after this training, we're going to send out an email. And if you'd like to be added to our installer map, just reply to that email and that'll come to me, and I'll be able to get the details for you and how you can be added. Additionally, on the Salamander site, we also have a site survey form. I popped that in the chat earlier this evening, just to let you know that, because obviously tonight we're not going to be able to deliver any sort of detailed specifications. So if you would like to get if you've got a system that needs an AccuBoost or one of our other products, you can just pop the details into this site survey form, and that'll submit them straight to our technical team, who will be able to give you a specification and let you know which product you need for that system. And furthermore, so we also have a loyalty scheme that is on our Salamander website. You basically earn points for the products that you install. So 50 points is worth a £25 Amazon M&S Love to Shop voucher. And you can get 40 of those points by installing an AccuBoost. So you just need to register on the Salamander site and register the products that you install. And then finally, this is Ken's baby, the Salamander eSchool. So you can find out about all of the the products that we offer, including our gravity fed and mains fed, Eve, our new product range, on the Salamander eSchool by carrying out the training modules that are on there, and that can all be done on demand. You can start the training, get halfway through, and then come back to it another time. So if you want to do any more further in-depth training on the AccuBoost or any of the other MainsBooster products, that's the place to go. And then finally, this is our other support that we offer. So we've got the brochure, which is also in your goodie bags. It's on the Salamander site. The installation manuals, they're also on the Salamander site. Data sheets. We have an online chat function on our website too. So if you want to get some information from us straight away, you can usually get us through the online chat. And we also are on all social media, so you can see all the videos and animations that Ken's shown you through our YouTube channel. We regularly share updates about AccuBoost and CombiBoost and HomeBoost on our other social media, so make sure you follow us. And so finally, the thing that everybody's been waiting for, what everyone's been waiting for. So for the most expensive toilet was the space station. So that was one that Ken found for us, and the winner of that is Charlie Galilewski. I'll get in touch with all of the winners after the webinar, probably tomorrow, and let you know that you're a winner.
$19 million, apparently, 15.5 million quid for the International Space Station toilet. But it turns your wee into drinking water, so it's all worth it.
Doesn't that sound fabulous? Just what you want from a £19 million toilet. And then for the specification, it was a 450 litre pumped AccuBoost tank. And the first person to get that was David Vickers. So well done, David, and well done, Charlie. We'll get in touch with you tomorrow about arranging your vouchers. Well done. So yeah, then finally, it's just a thank you from all of us at Salamander for your time this evening. All of this will be available on demand, so you can come back and watch at your leisure. And yeah, thanks very much.
Thank you very much, guys. Much appreciated. And once again, it's great that we've now got so many fully trained installers out there, and hope you have good success with fitting these products. My job is to ensure that they're listed on the systems, in the merchants, and the usual suppliers. So great. Thank you very much, guys. Much appreciated for tonight. Thank you for this hour.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
Great.
Really
Thanks
appreciate it.
very
Thanks for giving up your time. Appreciate it, everyone. Cheers.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you.